The invitation arrived like it did every year. A golden light appeared in the communication center of Earth's Orbital Station 7. The message was simple. The Galactic Council requested humanity's presence at the 148th Annual Summit on Thesser Prime. The station's computer recorded the message and sent it to the appropriate department. 3 hours later, an automated response went back into space. Acknowledge. Declining attendance. This had been happening for 147 years. On the distant world of Thesser Prime, Ambassador Tellon of the Veloci received Earth's response with a mixture of annoyance and curiosity. His crystalline body shifted colors as he processed the information. Blue for confusion, orange for frustration. He had been alive for over 400 years, and in all that time, he had never encountered a species quite like humans. They have refused again, he announced to the gathered representatives. The council chamber was vast, filled with beings from across the galaxy. The insectoid Krath clicked their mandibles in amusement. The Morvani, whose bodies were made of flowing silver liquid, rippled with what might have been laughter. "Let them hide," said High Commander Vectus of the Krath Empire. His voice was like stones grinding together. "They are nothing. A small species on a small world. They probably fear us." Talon was not so sure. In his long life he had learned that silence often meant something. Species that feared the galaxy usually tried to make friends. They sought protection. They offered tribute. Humans did none of these things. They simply said no and closed their doors. The Council had sent 17 diplomatic missions to Earth over the past century. Each one returned with the same report. A tired-looking human male named Park Doan would meet them at a small orbital station. He would offer them tea, which was apparently a traditional Earth drink. He would smile politely. He would answer no important questions. And then he would send them away. What are they doing in there? Tellon wondered aloud. Nobody had an answer. Deep beneath the mountains of Korea, in a facility that appeared on no map, Admiral Kim Yuna studied holographic displays that showed the entire galaxy. She was 73 years old, with silver hair pulled back from a face that had seen too much. Her eyes were dark and sharp, missing nothing. "Report," she said. Captain Lee Taiho stepped forward. He was young, only 35, but he had proven himself many times over. "The Krath are moving forces to the Denmer system. Third major mobilization this decade. The Veloci are watching but not acting. The Morvani have increased their psychic scanning range by 12%. Can they see us?" "No, Admiral. Our shielding holds. They cannot sense human minds clearly. They think it is a defect in our species." Yuna allowed herself a small smile. The Morvani believed humans were mentally primitive because they could not read human thoughts easily. They did not realize that Earth had spent 50 years developing psychic shielding technology. Every human carried a small implant that scattered telepathic signals. It was just one of many secrets. "Fleet status?" she asked. 1,847 vessels ready for deployment. The shipyards in Void Station 9 report they are ahead of schedule. We will reach 2,000 within 18 months. 2,000 ships. It had taken humanity 150 years to build this fleet. They had done it in secret in facilities hidden in the spaces between normal space. While the galaxy thought Earth was a primitive backwater, humanity had been building an armada that could challenge any power in existence. Yuna walked to the main display and looked at the galaxy map. So many species. So many conflicts. The Krath were aggressive and expansionist. The Veloci were old and manipulative. The Morvani believed themselves superior to all other life. And there were hundreds of smaller races caught between these great powers, struggling to survive. "Do you think we will have to use them?" Taiho asked. "The ships, I mean—" "Yes," Yuna said quietly. "I have watched these species for 40 years. They cannot help themselves. War is coming. A big one. And when it happens, we will have a choice to make. Reveal ourselves or let billions die. Exactly." On the orbital station above Earth, Park Dohan was preparing for another diplomatic visit. The Veloci had requested yet another meeting, their 18th attempt at establishing formal relations. Doan was 62 years old now, and he had been doing this job for 30 years. He was very good at saying nothing while appearing to say something. His assistant, a young woman named Song Minji, brought him the briefing file. They are sending a senior ambassador this time. Someone named Tellin. He is over 400 years old and considered one of their greatest diplomats. Doan nodded slowly. Prepare the usual tea, the formal reception room, and make sure the jammers are working. I do not want them scanning anything they should not see. Yes, sir. Do you think this Tellin will be different from the others? No, Doan said. He will ask the same questions. Why do we not join the council? Why do we not trade? Why do we hide? And I will give him the same answers I always give, which is no answer at all. Doan smiled. Exactly. The galaxy thinks we are weak, Minji. They think we are afraid. Let them think that. It is the greatest protection we have. Minji looked at him for a long moment. Sometimes I wonder what they would do if they knew the truth. They would try to destroy us before we became too strong, Dohan replied. That is what powerful species do. They eliminate threats, so we will not be seen as a threat. Not until we are too strong to be eliminated. Outside the window, Earth turned slowly in the darkness of space. Blue and green and white, beautiful and fragile looking. But beneath that peaceful surface, humanity was preparing. Waiting, building. The galaxy had no idea what was coming. 60 years before Admiral Yuna took command, a young physicist named Cho Min-jae made a discovery that would change everything. He was working alone in a small laboratory in Daejin. It was late at night, and the building was empty except for him. Min-jae was studying space-time mathematics, trying to understand how the alien species traveled so quickly between stars. The galaxy used something called hyperspace lanes. These were like invisible roads through space. Every ship followed them because that was the only known way to travel faster than light. But Min-jae had a different idea. He had noticed something strange in his calculations. Between normal space and hyperspace there was another layer. He called it the void. It was not empty. It was more like the space between pages in a book. You could not see it unless you knew how to look. That night, Min-jae ran his final test. A small probe disappeared from his laboratory. It did not go into hyperspace. It simply vanished. 3 seconds later, it reappeared on the other side of the room. According to his instruments, it had traveled through the void. Min-jae sat down heavily in his chair. His hands were shaking. He understood immediately what this meant. If humanity could travel through the void, they could go anywhere without using the hyperspace lanes. They could appear and disappear without warning. No other species knew this was possible. He reported his discovery to the government the next morning. The United Earth Council debated for 7 years about what to do. Some members wanted to share the technology with the galaxy. They argued that humanity should take its place among the stars as equals. Others were afraid. The alien species had thousands of years of history. They had vast fleets and ancient technologies. If they saw humanity as a threat, they might try to destroy Earth before it became too powerful. It was Admiral Baek Soyeon who proposed the solution. She was 50 years old at the time, a decorated military officer with a reputation for strategic thinking. She stood before the council with a simple presentation. No fancy graphics? No long speeches? Just a clear plan? We watch, she said. We learn everything about them. We study their ships, their weapons, their politics. We find their weaknesses. And while we do this, we create a fleet so powerful that when we finally reveal ourselves, no one will dare attack us. A council member raised his hand. How long will this take? At least 100 years. Maybe more. The room went silent. 100 years? Most of the people in that room would be dead before the plan was complete. They would spend their entire lives working toward something they would never see. This is the only way, Soyeon continued. If we reveal ourselves too soon, we die. If we hide forever, we achieve nothing. We must be patient. We must be careful. And we must be ready. The vote was close, but the council approved the plan. They called it the Watcher's Doctrine. Over the next 6 decades, humanity became the greatest intelligence-gathering civilization in the galaxy without anyone knowing. Cloaked observation posts were placed in every major system. Human agents, disguised with advanced technology, walked among alien species and learned their secrets. Ships traveled through the void, invisible and undetectable. Watching everything, Dr. Oyunji was one of the greatest intelligence officers in human history. She had spent 40 years studying alien civilizations. She knew the craft better than most craft knew themselves. She could predict Velozi political movements years before they happened. She understood the Morvani thought patterns in ways that made even their own telepaths uncomfortable. Now 64 years old, she sat in her office reviewing reports from across the galaxy. Her walls were covered with maps, charts, and photographs of alien leaders. Most intelligence officers specialized in one species. Unji had mastered them all. "The Croth High Commander is planning something," she said to her assistant, a young man named Yoon Seojun. "He has been meeting secretly with his military advisors 3 times in the past month. Should we be worried?" Seojun asked. "Always. The Krath are aggressive by nature. They need expansion like humans need air. Their economy depends on conquest. If they stop growing, they collapse. What will they do?" Yunji pointed to a star map. "There, the Themmer system. It is worthless by itself, but it sits at the junction of 3 hyperspace lanes. Whoever controls Themmer controls trade in that entire sector. The Morvani claim ancient rights to it. The Krath want it. This will be their excuse for war." Seojun looked at the map. "When? Soon? Maybe 2 years? Maybe less." Elsewhere in the facility, Admiral Yuna was meeting with Cho Min-jae himself. The physicist was 87 now, his hair white and his movements slow. But his mind was still sharp. He had spent his entire life improving the void-threading technology he had discovered. "The new engines are ready," Min-jae said. "Our ships can now enter and exit the void in less than 3 seconds. No warning. No detection. We can appear anywhere in the galaxy and vanish before they even know we were there." "How many ships can travel together?" Yuna asked. "As many as we want. The void has no limits. We could move our entire fleet to the other side of the galaxy in minutes." Yuna nodded slowly. This was the advantage humanity had been building for 150 years. While the galaxy used the same hyperspace lanes they had always used, humanity had found a better way. A secret way. "Doctor," she said, "do you ever regret it? Keeping this secret for so long?" Min-jae was quiet for a moment. "I have thought about that question many times. I believe we made the right choice. The galaxy is not kind to new species. They would have tried to take this technology from us, or they would have destroyed us to prevent us from becoming a threat. And now? Now we are the threat. But we are also the only hope they have for peace." Funny how that works. Yuna looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Krath were planning war. The Morvani were scheming. The Velozi were manipulating everyone for their own benefit. And none of them knew that humanity was watching everything. The waiting was almost over. The war began with a lie. In the Themar system, a Varni cargo ship exploded. The Krath High Commander Vectus immediately blamed Morvani terrorists. He said they had destroyed their own ship to create an excuse for conflict. Within hours, Krath warships crossed into Morvani space and attacked 3 colony worlds. The truth, which only human intelligence knew, was different. The Krath had destroyed the cargo ship themselves. It was a false flag operation, designed to justify the invasion they had been planning for years. Ambassador Han Ji-woo watched the intelligence feeds from her office on Earth. She was 41 years old, with sharp features and eyes that missed nothing. Unlike most humans, she had actually met aliens in person. Years ago, she had accompanied the old diplomat Park Doan on his final reception for the Veloci. She remembered the way Ambassador Tellin had looked at her, curious and calculating. Now she was Earth's chief diplomat for external affairs. It was a strange job. She prepared for negotiations that never happened, studied species she was not supposed to contact, and waited for a day that might never come. Until now. "The Krath have destroyed 12 Morvani colonies," reported Captain Lee Taiho. His voice was heavy. "Estimated casualties are in the hundreds of millions. The Morvani are gathering their fleet for a counterattack?" "What about the Veloci?" Jiwoo asked. "Officially neutral. Unofficially, they are selling weapons to both sides and offering to mediate peace talks that they know will fail. They profit from this war." Jiwoo closed her eyes. This was exactly what Dr. Oyunji had predicted years ago. The Krath needed expansion. The Morvani would not surrender their territory. The Veloci would manipulate everyone, and billions of innocent beings would die. She went to see Admiral Yuna. The admiral was in the command center, surrounded by holographic displays showing fleet movements across the galaxy. Red icons represented Krath ships. Blue for Morvani. Yellow for Veloci. The map looked like it was bleeding. "How bad is it?" Jiwoo asked. "Bad," Yuna replied. "The Krath have committed their main fleet. The Morvani are responding with everything they have. If this continues, we are looking at full galactic war within 2 years. Maybe sooner? Casualties? Best estimate? 300 billion dead. Worst case? Much higher. The Krath do not take prisoners." Jiwoo felt sick. 300 billion. It was a number too large to understand. Entire civilizations would be wiped out. Species would go extinct. The galaxy would burn. "We have to do something," she said. "I know." United Earth Council met in emergency session. The room was tense. For 150 years, humanity had followed the Watcher's doctrine. They had stayed hidden. They had built their strength. They had waited for the right moment. Was this it? General Shin Jun-ho spoke first. He was 60 years old, commander of all Earth's ground forces. A soldier's soldier. "Our fleet is ready," he said. 1,891 vessels as of this morning. Every ship is fully armed and crewed. We can deploy within hours. "If we reveal ourselves now," said one council member, "everything changes. We become a target." "We are already a target," Jiwoo replied. "We just do not know it yet. The Krath expand by conquest. Eventually, they will come for Earth. The only question is whether we face them now, when we are strong, or later, when they have already conquered half the galaxy. What do you propose?" Jiwoo stood up. "One show of force. We do not attack anyone. We do not take sides. We simply appear and make it clear that we can end this war if they do not stop it themselves. The Krath respect strength. So do the Morvani. Even the Veloci will think twice before challenging us." "And if they do not stop?" General Shin asked. "Then we make them stop." The room was silent. Everyone understood what that meant. After 150 years of peace, humanity might have to go to war. Admiral Yuna spoke for the first time. "I have studied these species my entire life. I know how they think. They will test us. They will try to find our weaknesses. But they are not stupid. When they see what we can do, they will back down. Because the alternative is annihilation, and even the Krath understand that." "You are sure?" the council leader asked. "No," Yuna admitted. "I am never sure about anything. But I know this, if we do nothing, billions will die. If we act, we might prevent that. The choice seems clear to me." The vote was 7-5 in favor of intervention. Jiwoo felt the weight of history pressing down on her. In a few hours, humanity would step onto the galactic stage for the first time. Nothing would ever be the same again. She went to her quarters and sat alone in the darkness. Through the window, she could see the stars. Somewhere out there, alien fleets were gathering. Weapons were being loaded. Orders were being given. Species that had fought for thousands of years were preparing to fight again. And humanity was about to enter the game. Her communicator buzzed. It was Admiral Yuna. Ambassador, we deploy in 6 hours? The fleet is gathering at Void Station Prime. I want you on my command ship. Me? Why? Because when this is over, someone will need to talk to them. And I'm told you are very good at talking. Jiwoo almost laughed. Talking, after 150 years of silence. Humanity was finally going to have a conversation with the galaxy. She just hoped they would like what they heard. I will be there, she said. She began to pack. The command ship Eternal Dawn was the largest vessel humanity had ever built. 2 kilometers long, bristling with weapons that no alien species had ever seen, it floated in the void like a sleeping giant. Admiral Kim Yuna stood on the bridge, watching her fleet assemble. Ship after ship emerged from hidden stations throughout the void. Heavy cruisers, battleships, carriers filled with fighters, support vessels loaded with supplies. They came in perfect formation, each captain knowing exactly where to position themselves. This was not luck. This was the result of decades of training, of planning, of waiting. Fleet count? Yuna asked. 2012 vessels, reported her first officer, Commander Beek Suho. All stations report ready. 2,000 ships? It was more than the Krath had sent to invade Morvani space. It was more than any single power had ever deployed in one place. And the galaxy had no idea they existed. Ambassador Han Jiwoo stood beside the Admiral, trying to keep her breathing steady. In a few minutes, they would exit the void directly above Thesser Prime, where the 148th Galactic Summit was still in session. Every major power in the galaxy had representatives there. They would all see humanity arrive. Are you nervous? Yuna asked. Terrified, Jiwoo admitted. Good. Fear keeps us sharp. The Admiral looked at her fleet one more time. Remember, we are not here to fight. We are here to end a war before it destroys everything. But if they force us to fight, we will. They will not believe we are real at first, Jiwoo said. They think humans are primitive, weak. When they see our ships, they will think it is a trick. Then we will show them it is not, Yuna gave the order. All ships prepare for void exit. Destination? Thesser Prime, Formation Alpha. We go in 60 seconds. Across the fleet, crews made final preparations. Weapons were charged. Shields were raised. Communications officers prepared to broadcast on every known frequency. This was the moment they had trained for their entire lives. The moment humanity had been building toward for 150 years. 10 seconds, Commander Beek announced. Jiwoo gripped the railing in front of her. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reality tore open. 2,000 human warships emerged from nothing in perfect formation around Thesser Prime. They did not come from hyperspace. They simply appeared as if the universe had blinked and suddenly they were there. Inside the Galactic Council chamber, chaos erupted. Ambassador Tellon of the Veloci was mid-sentence when every alarm in the station went off simultaneously. Holographic displays showed the impossible, a massive fleet surrounding them, weapons locked on every ship in orbit. What is happening? Demanded High Commander Vectus of the Krath. His mandibles clicked frantically. Where did they come from? Why did we not see them approach? I do not know, shouted a Krath officer. They did not use the hyperspace lanes, they just appeared. The Morvani representative tried to use their telepathy to sense the invaders, but encountered only static. Thousands of minds, all somehow shielded, all completely unreadable. It was like staring into a wall. Someone is hailing us, announced the station's communication officer. On all frequencies. The main display flickered and then showed a human face. A woman with silver hair and cold, dark eyes. She looked calm, completely in control, like someone who had already won a game that everyone else was just starting to understand. This is Admiral Kim Yuna of the United Earth Defense Fleet, she said. Her voice was steady, almost pleasant. You have 60 seconds to cease all hostile actions across every active theater of conflict. Failure to comply will be met with immediate and overwhelming response. The chamber went silent. High Commander Vectus recovered first. He laughed, a harsh clicking sound that echoed through the room. Humans? The silent hermits of Earth? You have 2,000 ships? Impressive. But we have 20,000 in this sector alone. Your bluff is amusing, but it will not. Yuna did not let him finish. She touched a control on her chair. Across 3 star systems, every single Krath warship suddenly found itself targeted. Red warning lights flashed on their bridges. Their sensors showed weapons locks from vessels they could not see, could not detect, could not escape. Ships in hyperspace, ships in orbit, ships in hidden bases, all of them painted by targeting systems that should not have been able to find them. 50 seconds, Yuna said calmly. Vectis stopped laughing. His compound eyes darted to his officers, who looked back with something the Krath rarely showed, fear. This is impossible, he whispered. How are you doing this? 40 seconds, Ambassador Tellin finally spoke. Admiral Yuna, please, we need to discuss this. There are proper channels the proper channels allowed a war that has already killed hundreds of millions. Yuna interrupted. The proper channels failed. I am giving you a different option. 30 seconds. The Morvani representative raised a liquid appendage. We will comply. The Morvani collective orders all forces to stand down immediately. 20 seconds. Vectis looked at his display. His entire fleet was targeted. Every ship, every station, every installation. If the humans opened fire, the Krath military would be crippled in seconds. How? He demanded again. How can you target ships in hyperspace? 10 seconds, High Commander? Your answer? Vectis's mandibles clicked one final time. Then his shoulders slumped. All Krath forces will cease hostile operations immediately. The galaxy held its breath. Yuna nodded once. Thank you for your cooperation. Ambassador Han will now discuss the terms of the ceasefire. I suggest you listen carefully. She stepped aside and Jiwoo moved to the center of the screen. She looked at the gathered representative species that had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, now staring at her with shock and fear and, in some cases, grudging respect. Good morning, she said. We have a lot to talk about. 3 days after the fleet arrived, Ambassador Han Jiwoo walked into the Galactic Council chamber for the first time in human history. The room was different now, quieter. The arrogance that had filled this space for centuries was gone, replaced by uncertainty and fear. The Krath delegation sat rigidly, their compound eyes following Jiwoo's every movement. The Morvani flowed nervously in their containment suits. The Veloci crystals flickered with colors that indicated deep thought. Jiwoo wore a simple black uniform. No medals, no decorations. Just the symbol of Earth on her shoulder. She wanted them to see her as she was, a representative of a species that had nothing to prove. For 147 years you wondered why Earth stayed silent, she began. Her voice was calm, filling the chamber without effort. Some of you assumed we were afraid. Others thought we were primitive, a young species hiding from the dangers of the universe. A few suspected we were arrogant, too proud to join your council. She paused, letting her gaze sweep across the assembled representatives. The truth is simpler. We were watching, learning, we studied your ships and built better ones. We analyzed your weapons and created weapons you cannot imagine. We learned your languages, your customs, your politics, your weaknesses. We wanted to understand who you truly were before we decided how to reveal ourselves. And what did you learn? Ambassador Tellin asked. His crystalline form had shifted to a neutral gray, hiding his emotions. That you are afraid? Jiwoo replied. All of you. The Krath expand because they fear becoming weak. The Morvani seek control because they fear chaos. The Veloci manipulate because they fear being manipulated. Fear drives everything in this galaxy. And humans? The question came from the Morvani representative, a silver figure whose voice echoed with telepathic harmonics. What do humans fear? Jiwoo smiled slightly. We fear many things. But we learned long ago that hiding from fear does not make it go away. So we prepared. We built, we waited, and now here we are. High Commander Vectis leaned forward. His mandibles clicked slowly, thoughtfully. You have shown us your strength. What do you want in return? Territory? Resources? Tribute? We want nothing you have, Jiwoo said. We did not come here to conquer. We came here because the galaxy was about to tear itself apart, and we could not stand by while billions died for the sake of our own secrecy. You expect us to believe that? Vectis demanded. No species shows this kind of power without wanting something. Then believe this, if we wanted to conquer you, we would have done it already. Our ships are still surrounding this station. Your fleets are still targeted. If conquest was our goal, this conversation would not be happening. The chamber was silent. Outside the windows, human warships hung in the darkness like patient predators. 2,000 vessels, each one a reminder of what humanity could do if pushed. Talon spoke again. What happens now? You have stopped this war, but what comes after? Do you return to your silence? No, Jiwoo said. We are done hiding. Earth will take its place in this galaxy as an equal partner to all species. We will share some of our technology and time with those who earn our trust. We will participate in the council, but we will not be bound by rules that no longer make sense. And if we refuse to accept you as equals? The question came from a small representative in the back, a species Jiwoo did not recognize. She looked at them calmly. Then you should look out the window and reconsider. It was not a threat. It was simply a fact. The negotiations took 3 weeks. Human diplomats, led by Jiwoo, met with every major power individually. The Krath were the most difficult. Their entire culture was built on expansion and conquest. Accepting limits went against everything they believed. But they accepted. They had no choice. The Velozi tried to manipulate the situation, offering secret deals and playing factions against each other. Jiwoo saw through every attempt. Human intelligence had been watching the Veloci for decades. They knew every trick, every strategy, every hidden agenda. We know what you are doing, Jiwoo told Talon during their private meeting. We have known for a long time. It will not work on us. Talon's crystals shifted to a deep blue, the color of respect. You truly have been watching. Since before you were born, Ambassador. We know you better than you know yourselves. The final agreement established the new Galactic Compact. Earth became a permanent member of the Council, with full voting rights. The Themmer system was declared neutral territory, administered by a joint commission. Most importantly, all parties agreed to a binding arbitration process for future disputes. Admiral Yuna watched the signing ceremony from her command ship. Beside her stood Dr. Cho Min-jae, the physicist who had discovered void threading so many years ago. It worked, Min-jae said softly. We actually did it. Not yet, Yuna replied. This is just the beginning. They will test us. They will look for weaknesses. They will try to divide us. But they will fail. Because we did not spend 150 years preparing just to give up now. 70 years later, historian Kwon Hejin sat in his study on Luna, writing about the events that had changed the galaxy forever. He called it the emergence. It was taught in schools across the galaxy now, this story of how humanity had hidden in plain sight and then stepped forward to prevent a catastrophic war. His grandmother had been on the Eternal Dawn that day. She had told him stories of what it felt like to exit the void and see the galaxy staring back in shock. We were not arrogant, she had said. We were careful. There is a difference. On his desk sat a photograph, Ambassador Han Ja-woo and Ambassador Talon, standing together at the first anniversary of the new compact. They were not quite friends, not quite enemies, but they were talking. And that, Hejin thought, was what mattered most. Beneath the photograph, someone had written words in Old Korean. The patient hunter feeds the village. Hejin looked out his window at the stars. Human ships traveled among them now, side by side with Velocian Krath and Morvani vessels. The galaxy was not perfect. It would never be perfect. But it was better than it had been. And humanity's story was only beginning.